Hi, welcome to this week's dynamic practice. It's called 3 columns. And the 3 columns we are working on are our 2 lateral lines, one on each side. It's outer leg, outer hip, and this weaving of muscles up either side of our torso. And then the core line, which is inseam of our legs up through the center, our center body. So basically the front side of the spine. So we will be both strengthening outside and inside legs. That's good for balance practices. We will stand on one foot in a couple different ways. We're also going to attempt a fair amount of arm balances and also a potential headstand as well. So what we'll need, if you need some wall space for headstand, go ahead and take it. You don't need a lot. I'm just going to use this space here if I wanted some support behind me. And have a block and a strap at the ready as well. Okay, great. And so let's start. Let's lie on our back. And from here, let's take arms in goalpost position. So your arms are by your sides with your elbows bent, palms relax up. And take your feet to the sides of the mat. So feet go a little wider. And as you start breathing in and out through the nose if you can. Inhale in the belly. Exhale from navel. As you inhale, reach one arm back and drop the same side knee. Press the same side knee downward and inward for a stretch on outside body. And you can breathe into that, deep breath in. And then as you exhale, return to where you started. And repeat that side to side. So you're going to reach your other arm back. Knee drops inward. You can also arch your back here, breathe into the stretch, exhale as you come back to center, and go back and forth like this several times. So this is it's a great time to compare lateral lines, one side versus the other. So outer leg, outer hip, through side ribs. Go back and forth like this another couple times per side. Tapping into your breathing practice. We will require a lot of oxygenation today. It will be a strong practice, so you can start breathing more now. Okay. Great, and once you're done with your second side, you come back to center. And you can step your feet together, legs together. From here, also take your hands underneath your head. And as you inhale, you're going to guide your elbows and knees and press them out to the sides. So that's your in-breath. So you're squeezing outside hip muscles, also pressing your shoulders or elbows into the ground. And then as you exhale, elbows together, knees together, and you can lift your head and shoulders in a slow version of a crunch. So as you inhale, elbows and knees out to the sides and down. Exhale, elbows and knees, and take a crunch. And go back and forth like this several times. And this is starting to balance outer leg and inner leg. And as you inhale, you're pressing your knees toward the floor. That's outer leg engagement. And as you exhale, you pin your knees together. That's your inner leg engagement. You go back and forth like this another few times. Of course, we're also warming up shoulders, warming up spine. But you can focus on outer leg, inner leg. And twice more here. Deep breath into belly. Exhale. Lift and sustain. Inhale, breathe into navel. Exhale, lift. Okay, great. And then you can take your head to the floor and extend your legs forward. Take a moment to breathe here. Take an inhale. Big exhale. Okay. So from here, what I'd like you to do is lift up just your right foot. So your right foot's just a tiny bit off the ground. And you're going to keep your foot off the ground. You're going to bend your knee out to the side, and you're pressing your knee toward the floor while keeping your foot elevated. So this is activation around your right hip. You press your knee down and draw your heel in. So it's like tree pose, but your foot's not on anything. And then as you exhale, relax that down. And try that same move one more time. So your foot lifts up an inch off the ground. You bend your knee out to the side and down. You keep your foot elevated, it's not touching anything. And you draw your heel in toward a hip. And then you exhale, relax. And so that's one type of muscle activation in your right hip. Now from here, lift your, same leg, lift your right foot, still keep it up an inch, but instead of taking your knee out, you're going to take it across the midline. Press it over midline, keep your hip down. The knee goes over to the left and you draw your heel in. So this is inner leg and hamstring. And you exhale, extend your leg and relax it. And try that exact same move one more time. You lift your right heel up and you bend your knee, bring it inward medially, and draw your heel in. So this is adductor, this is your inside leg plus hamstring. And then you extend your leg. And now I invite you to go back and forth between these two moves. In both cases, the foot is elevated. The first case, you take your knee out to the side and press it down. So this is outer hip plus hamstring as you draw your heel in. Inhale, you release the leg. And then you try that on the other side. Take your knee inward and across as you draw your heel in. And exhale, relax your leg. And go back and forth like this several times. If you've ever played hacky sack, these are the two kind of, I have never played hacky sack, I've seen other people, but these are really like the two foundational moves for keeping the ball up in the air. Or sort of soccer players, if they're keeping the ball up in the air, just by virtue of kicking it lightly. These are the two main moves to sort of kick the ball. So it's a hacky sack move. Go back and forth like this a couple more times, and this gets the muscles around your hip thinking, working, woken up, muscle range of motion activation here. All right, very good. And you can allow your leg to relax and keep it soft, and try that. Now we're going to try the sequence on the left side now. So please lift your left foot up just an inch off the ground, and you're going to take your left knee out to the left, press that knee toward the floor, and draw your heel in tightly. And hold it there for a moment. Feel all the muscles wake up, feel all the muscles activate, and then you exhale, extend your leg and relax. Let your leg relax. Take your knee out to the side one more time. Lift your left heel up. Keep your foot elevated as your knee goes out to the side, knee presses toward the floor, foot stays up in the air, it's not touching anything, and you just draw your heel in. So that's outer leg and hamstring. You then extend your leg, pause, give it a rest, and then we'll go the other way. You're going to lift your foot off the floor, bend your knee upward toward the ceiling, and then take it across without lifting your hip. Your left hip stays down, but your knee goes across, and you draw your heel in. So this is inner leg plus hamstring work. And you extend your leg forward and relax. And do that move one more time, please. Take your left knee in and across as you draw your heel in. And then you extend your leg forward. And now let's go back and forth like this. This is more like tree pose, where you take your knee out to the side, heel draws in, and feel your outer leg and hamstring work in tandem. You exhale, relax. And then you take your knee across, draw your heel in. It's inner leg and hamstring work. And you exhale, relax. And go back and forth like this. It's not the more the better. I like going slowly because you get a sense of the range of motion in hips, in knees, and the muscles get a chance to figure out what to do in the situation. And so you go back and forth like this. This leg might feel different. The muscles that surround your left hip and your left femur just have a different life experience. They might have different neural patterns, different tendencies. You go back and forth like this another few times. And it's like two hacky sack moves. All right, great. And after you're done there, you extend your legs. Notice the extra buzzing around thighs, around hips. We've woken everything up around our hips. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale, place your feet flat on the floor. And we'll do one more of these moves on our back. So you're going to slide your right foot, please, underneath your left leg and hold that foot with your left hand. If you can't hold the foot with your hand, you can always use a strap. And I'll turn around for demonstration purposes for a moment. So right foot's underneath left leg. Either bridge the gap with a strap, or you can hold the foot, okay? And then drop your right knee forward, so it's like in a half lotus, okay? Please take also your right hand now underneath your head, okay? So left hand's holding the foot, right hand's under your head. And as you inhale, slide your right knee and elbow away from one another for a side stretch that also gets the psoas and inner leg a little bit. And you exhale, relax those efforts, and you repeat this several times on this side. So you send right knee forward and your right elbow back, lengthening the distance between the two joints. And then you exhale, relax. Breathe into your right side. Do this another few times here. And one more time, breathe in to your right side. Okay, great. And then exhale, release. You can place your feet flat on the floor. Notice the new sensations around your right side. And from here, please take your left foot underneath right. Hold that foot with your right hand, and you're going to drop your left knee as far forward as it goes. Mine gets pretty close to the ground. It does not have to be on the ground. It just, if it's in the air, that's fine as long as that's okay for your knee. And if you need a strap on this side, go ahead and take it. So your left knee is relaxed forward. Left hand comes underneath your head. And now we're going to focus on lengthening our left side. Your knee goes forward and your left elbow goes back, and you breathe into the distance. That's all. Inhale, breathe into the distance between the two joints, and then exhale, relax your efforts. And repeat this on the left side several times. Take a deep breath in, and big exhale. And take a deep breath in, and out breath. And then in breath. And out breath. And do this another few times. And again, left side has different lifelong traits. So you might feel this in different places. Kind of notice what you can notice. Breathe into what you notice on your left. Yeah, deep breath down your left side. All right, great. And release from there. And feet flat on the ground. Great, take a deep breath in. Notice the tissues recoiling and relaxing. All right, great. And then right foot on top of left thigh. Hug the whole thing in. So you're going to get an outer leg stretch. And hands can go through, either hold your left hamstring or hold your left shin. Round your spine. By which I mean, as you draw your knees in, the tailbone will lift. And you can let that happen, good. That's a good thing. Breathe into your low back. And twice more here. Okay, very good. And then you release that. Please switch legs. Left ankle on top of right thigh. Draw the whole thing in. Hands through hamstring. Hands through legs and hold right hamstring, or hold your right shin. And you're going to draw the whole ensemble in. And when you draw your knees toward your heart center, the tailbone will lift, and that is rounding your spine, and that's great. And you can breathe into your low back. A few breaths here. All right, and take a deep breath. Inhale. Okay, great. And then you can release that, please take your strap around your right foot. We're going to take Supta Padangusthasana 1. So your left leg presses forward along the ground. And please take your right leg up in the air for a back of the leg stretch on the right. Drive your heel up toward the ceiling. Quads engaged, of course. You press your heel up, press your heel up, press your heel up. And a few breaths here. Quads engaged. You're trying to lengthen both thighs, lengthen both legs in their directions. Your left heel is pressing forward, your right heel is pressing up. And continue breathing more deeply as we start to get bigger and bigger stretches, bigger and bigger movements. You'll need some more O2. So this is Supta Padangusthasana 1. For Supta Pada 2, please take the strap in your right hand and you're going to take your leg out to the right, press your heel out to the right and roll your belly to the left. Now keep your left hip down and it's like you're trying to press your outer right leg toward the floor. It doesn't have to get there. For most people it does not, at least not without lifting the hip, which I don't want. So you keep your left hip on the ground and you press your right leg toward the floor, and my hope is you can feel your outer right leg working as you stretch your inner right leg. So outer leg works, inner leg stretches, and breathe deeply into this pose a few more times. Breathe in, exhale, inhale, exhale. Right, one last breath here. Okay, great, and you come back up. You release right leg to the ground, and let's replicate that on the best we can on the left. Left leg up in the air. And you're going to drive your left heel skyward. All right, so left heel presses up. Initial foray into hamstring stretch, calf stretch. And as your left heel presses up, press your right heel forward. So both legs are trying to grow. Both legs are trying to grow. And as this becomes a more global stretch, it's a bigger pose. Poses will get bigger and bigger. Have the breath accommodate the pose. Breathe deeply. Okay, and then for the second version of this, left arm reaches as high as you can, and you're going to take your leg to the left, you press your heel out. And so right hip stays on the ground as best as you can. So you're going to roll your belly to the right, that helps get your right hip down. And then you try to activate your outer leg toward the ground. It doesn't have to go anywhere, but it does help to activate your left outer hip. And as we activate our left outer hip, we get a chance for additional stretch along the inside leg. All right, so right hip stays down. And on left leg, outer hip engages, inner leg stretches. And we're going to do that another few times. Breathe into lower abdomen. Okay, very nice. And then inhale, you bring it up to the center. Press both feet up through the strap into a supported Supta Dandasana. Okay. So from here, when we hug the knees into our chest, we rounded the spine. From here, what I'd like you to do is try to slide your sitting bones toward the floor. And instead of bottoming out your low back into the floor, I'd like to see if you can maintain a natural neutral curve in your low back. So your mid-back's on the floor, your sacrum is on the floor, but there's this support and this small arch, that lordotic curvature, inward curve of your low back. Maintain it. So that's back body work. Press your heels up, quads are engaged. With our legs together, this might be more of a stretch on outer hamstrings. Some of you may feel some length along the inseam of your legs. So this is a supported Supta Dandasana. While we're using the strap, enjoy this, another couple breaths. Both sets of hamstrings are long. Both calves are long. Very good. And then from here, we're gonna get rid of the support. So you can remove this strap, place the strap by your side, find your block, and you're gonna take the block in between your thighs. And now we're gonna squeeze the block so we're using inner legs quite a bit. So you're gonna try to crush your block. Squeeze the block, squeeze the block, squeeze the block, squeeze the block. Still natural, neutral, inward curve in your spine. And you can either stay here with your hands doing whatever you want, or because we'll be doing some arm balances, hands interlaced to get a palm stretch. Press your arms beyond your head, by your ears. Now keep your mid-back down, keep your sacrum down, and there's natural, neutral curves in your low back and your neck. So yeah, a couple more breaths here. Squeeze the block, press your heels up. So this is what we can expect to find in downward facing dog as well, is this squeezing of the block, and it's like you're trying to take your upper thighs away from belly. Upper thighs away from belly. Very good. Take a deep breath in. Okay, and then exhale from there. Release your legs, and we're going to come into, so rock this around. Come to hands and knees. Block is still in between your legs. Between thighs, I should say, and then you lift back into downward facing dog. So adjust your stance so that your knees are okay with this, right? If my feet were together, that would probably hurt my knees because there's a block between my thighs. So whatever feels good for knees, but you're gonna squeeze the heck out of the block, and you're gonna try to lift your block back and up as far as you can. That's a ton of upper thigh engagement. That's also psoas engagement. And you're lifting it up as high as you can. Drive your heels straight back. And there's a few more breaths here. So a lot of the work that we just did in our last posture on the back, you can do here. The tendency is to round out the spine, lift your sitting bones, draw the top of your sacrum in, try to find a natural neutral curve in your low back. That results in more hamstring stretch and more support for your spine. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time. Great, so from here, you're going to keep on squeezing the block, and you're going to press your hips toward the floor into plank. So you're going to look over the ledge a little bit. So imagine your fingertips are on a ledge, just peek over the ledge, and you're going to press your hips down while trying to lift your thighs up. So that results in, it's just a lot more activation. You don't go anywhere, you just wind up doing more. Press hips down, thighs lift. You squeeze the block for inner leg engagement, and there's 2 or 3 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time, breath in. Okay, great, and then exhale, you can take your knees down, get the block out of the way. All right, and so from here, we're gonna work now with different kinds of side planks. The 2 options for you today, you can take side plank with your hand on the ground for our variations. You can also take the forearm on the ground, like that, okay? So just so you know. So let's turn around for demonstration purposes, because we're gonna take side plank first on our right side. You start in plank, there's no block there, but you step your legs together, so you squeeze your legs together. And then from here, you're going to turn your toes to the left, heel to the right. So now the outside of our right foot's on the floor, and you transfer the weight into your right hand or right forearm. And then from here, the hips are out to the sides, and take your top hand onto your hip and press your hip up into your hand a little. So there's more activation on your right column, your right lateral line. There's a big propensity to lock out elbows. Please bend your elbow just a little so it's unlocked and dynamic. And pause here, another 2 breaths. Take a big inhale, big exhale, press your foot down, lift your hip up a little higher, deep breath in. Okay, and then come back to plank. Take a break, hands and knees on the ground. Very good. And then go back into plank. And this time we're going to take plank on the left side. So you're going to turn your toes out to the side so the outside of your left foot's on the floor. And then you're going to add some weight to your left hand and come into plank on left side. So now the left side is carrying the weight and trying to lift. Top hand to hip and press your hip up into your hand for more activation along the undercarriage here, the left side. Okay, shoulder blade away from ear. Make sure that your down arm, your left arm, elbow is slightly bent, bicep is engaged, everything's engaged. 2 more breaths. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time, breath in. Okay, and then you can swivel back to plank, knees down. Okay, and take a break if you need wrist circles. Go ahead and do that. Also, I like what I call frantic checking of doorknobs. Go back and forth like this, and both of those will relieve the wrists. So you can work on that. If the hands don't work, you can come down on the forearms. But we'll try this twice more. The next one we're rocking onto right hand or right forearm and taking a side tree pose. So from here, the outer hip on the top, the knee's going to want to kind of bend over this way. So you're going to press your knee back, and you're going to do that by engaging your top hip. The bottom hip helps lift. Okay? So I was demonstrating, but now let's actually do it. In our plank, you're going to transfer weight onto right hand, rock onto your right foot. Now you're out to the side. You can stay here. Option number 2 is you take your top foot to bottom inner thigh. Now point your knee up toward the ceiling, and that's engagement of top glute. And then you're going to press your hips into your top hand to lift, and now you're supporting this pose with your right column. 2 more breaths. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time, breath in. Okay, great. And you come out of that, come into plank, take a break if you need to. I'm going to turn around for demonstration purposes. All right, and then you come into plank again. We're now going to rock onto our left hand, left foot's on the ground, and you can stay here in your side plank, okay, pressing your hip up. So now your left column, one of the 3 columns we're working on, is activating and supporting. From here, top foot onto inner thigh, it's like a tree pose, and as you take your top knee up toward the ceiling, that's activation of your top glutes, and you can press your hand into your hip. So this is side planks or tree variation. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. One last time, breathe in. Okay, great. And then you can swivel back to plank. Take a break. Again, any wrist moves, if you need to move them around, go the opposite way. Take wrist circles or frantic checking of doorknobs. So that's option number 2. Option number 3, I'm just going to demonstrate for a second. But you're here, and either you take tree pose or peace fingers around big toe, and you press your heel up in Vashisthasana. And so we've already done that. We just did it on the back with the leg out to the side. So you already know how it feels to engage that top glute and that top column essentially. So you press the heel up, and then your bottom column tries to lift your hips. Okay, so try it. If it doesn't work for you, go with one of the previous 2 poses. Also, if your wrists are getting a little bit tired, your forearm on the ground, you can do Vashisthasana here as well. Okay, so let's try it out. We're in plank, or forearm plank. You rock onto your right hand or forearm. You can stay here in side plank, or take side tree, or peace fingers around big toes, and you press the heel up toward the ceiling. So the top hip engages to lengthen your inner leg, and your bottom column lifts up, 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 up. 2 or 3 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time, breath in. Okay, come out of that to plank. You can take your knees down to the floor, and let's switch sides. All right, so last big plank here. You're gonna take the side plank here. And so now your your hips are pressing up in your top hand, so your left column's engaged. Option number 2 is to take the tree pose, top glutes engaged. Option number 3, your peace fingers Take big toe, and you're gonna press your heel up toward the ceiling. So your top glute is helping lengthen through inseam of the leg, and your entire bottom lateral line is helping you lift up, 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 up. So there's 2 more breaths. Take a big inhale, big exhale. One last time, breathe in. Okay, exhale, hands down, lift back into downward facing dog for a moment. All right, feel the length of your lateral lines. Feel the length of your core line by sending your upper thighs back and up. So it's like all 3 columns get lengthened through the torso. Center line, the front side of your spine, as well as left and right lateral lines. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time. Okay, great. Bend your knees a little bit, step up to standing. Come all the way up to Tadasana, arms sweep up overhead, interlace your fingers, and press your palms skyward. All right, so you drive your feet down to lift your lungs up, and there's 2 more breaths. Breathe laterally, breathe into your side ribs. Inhale, exhale, and one last time, breath in. Okay, great, and exhale from there, release. We're gonna take pyramid next. Right foot stays where it is. Your left foot can step back. And if you need a block, you can take the block underneath your left hand for pyramid. You're gonna bend your front knee a little bit. Turn your hips toward the front toes. So right foot's forward, so we're turning our hips to the right. And then from there, pubic bone back, lengthen your lungs forward. And you can take your left hand to the block if you'd like, or you can take it to the floor. All right. And if your left hand's to the floor, if you like, keep on sliding your right hip back as an option. Also as an option, both hands to floor, and now you can round your spine a bit. Let's see if you can keep the big toe mound rooted up front, and slide your right upper thigh back as far as you can. So you're getting a lot of stretch along the back of the leg. And there's also activation, inner outer leg line activation in the front foot. If you really press the bones of your feet down through the floor, you'll feel more engagement not only in the back of the leg, but on inside, outside leg. And there's 3 more breaths here. Take a big inhale. Exhale. Twice more. Exhale. And one last time. Okay, great. So you keep your feet firmly rooted, all the weight's into your feet so you can lift your hands to hips. Squeeze your back body, come all the way up, and exhale, step up into your mountain pose. Drive both feet through the floor, lift your lungs up, feel center column rise along inseam of legs and through the front side of your spine. Okay, great. Left foot stays where it is. You're going to step your right foot back. If you're using a block, you can take the block under your right hand. Bend your front knee. Turn your hips. This is counterclockwise with our left foot forward. Turn your hips counterclockwise and then pubic bone back. Right hand to block if you're using it, or to the floor if you're not. Okay. If you're using a block, you can always use your left hand as a manual guide to slide your left hip back. Okay. If it's available and easy to do, you can take both hands to the floor. And you can round your spine here a little bit too. Okay, so aside from any differences between legs, which if you've been doing yoga for a while, you're probably familiar with your asymmetries. Everyone can press the foot into the floor and you'll feel more engagement around the leg. So you drive the bones of your feet into the floor. So it's heel presses down, big toe, little toe mound presses down, and then you slide your left hip back, slide your upper thigh back. So what that does is it engages inner outer leg lines for inner outer foot stability. And we'll be here another few breaths. Okay, So drive both feet in through the floor. More and more weight into feet, less and less weight into hands. And then as you inhale, take your hands to hips and come all the way back up. All right, and then you step up to the top. Ground your feet, lengthen your lungs. All right, very good. Take a deep breath along center column, huge inhale, and big exhale. All right. Great, and then you can step out to the side of your mat. So at this point, I'm going to mirror you. So I'm gonna say turn your right toe, this is actually my left foot, but since I'm mirroring you, you're gonna turn your right toes out to the right. We're gonna take a longer stance here. And then exhale, come into warrior two legs. Okay, so this is warrior two legs. Of course, oftentimes the arms are out. We're gonna quickly get out of warrior two. You're gonna press your back heel into the floor, straight down. It's inner leg work here. So press the foot straight down into the floor. Feel your inner leg work here. And as your knee goes forward, the tendency is for the knee to dip in. So outer hip on your right outer hip squeezes. So you squeeze the right side. So it's like inner thighs stretching, outer thighs consolidating. And then from here, you take your right hand to the floor. Okay? And if you need a block, stay here. We are going to do an arm balance from here. So if your hand's on the block, you just stay on side angle. All right? But if you can get your hands down, keep the weight in the back foot. And what you're going to do is maybe take a slightly longer stance. I'm going to take that knee forward. And from here, see if you can get your right arm and shoulder underneath your right leg. Keep on rolling your navel up. And then from here, you would lean on your right hand, less and less weight into the foot, and see if you can press your heel out. And now we're in a pose called Vishvamitrasana. All right, press your hand down to roll your belly up. Press your back foot through the floor. All right, and then exhale. You can place the foot on the floor, come out of that, all the way up, release. There are variations where you reach your top arm up and hold the foot. We're not gonna get into that. I just want to see if we can transfer the weight like that. So you bend your knees, switch the same pose on the other side, so your left toes are out to the left. Okay, and let's take a warrior two again. So the back leg, its function is to provide some support through means of inner thigh. So you press your right foot straight down, and hopefully you notice the adductors work. And that's a lot of psoas support, low back support, by pressing your back foot straight down through the floor. This knee, you send it forward, and really it's like you're sending your inner thigh forward. The outer thigh actually comes back and engages, so it's your left outer thigh doing a fair amount of work. All right, so that's the warrior two legs. Let's get into side angle, left hand onto a block or onto the floor. And if you're onto the block, you're gonna stay on the block and work the back outer leg and the back inner leg and the front outer leg. Okay, so here's your side angle. Okay, keep everything engaged. All right, left outer thigh, right inner thigh. If it's available, you can send your, I need to move my foot a little further forward. I'm gonna send my left arm and shoulder underneath my thigh. And then from there, I press my hand down into the floor like side angle. Less and less weight into foot. If it's available, you press your heel out, and there's your Vishvamitrasana here. And you pause there, breathe here a few times. And whenever you're ready, you bring the foot back down, weight into the foot. As you inhale, come all the way up through warrior two, straighten your legs, and come in a little bit like a wide-legged Tadasana, which we'll get into a wide-legged forward fold. So heels a little wider than toes. Inhale here, lift up your lungs, bend your knees, pubic bone back, and then we take a forward fold, wide-legged. All right, so it's been a lot of engagement and stability work so far. So keep the feet pressing down. Now, hopefully, even in this symmetric pose, You can feel like your inner legs are doing some work as you're driving your feet down. One cue I often give is, imagine if instead of standing on a sticky mat, what if you were standing on ice and you didn't want to go into an accidental split. So the feet would press down and also slightly in. And that gets your inner legs working a fair amount. So imagine you were standing on ice and did not want to go into a split. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, deep breath in, exhale. And we're going to keep the stability in your legs. Your legs, your thighs, your hips do this exact same thing the whole time. But you're going to lengthen up your spine. Now we're going to roll our belly to the right and fold down your right leg. Side fold. Keep on pressing both feet down. Imagine you were on ice, so your inner legs are engaging. And as you fold to the right, breathe into your left low back. Another few times here. Okay, great. And then come back to center. Lengthen your spine. You're going to roll your navel to the left and then fold down your left leg. Legs doing exactly the same thing. You're pressing your feet straight down through the floor. Your inner legs are working. And then as you fold to your left, breathe into your right low back. Several breaths here. Yeah, quads stay engaged, inner legs stay engaged, muscles around your feet stay engaged. So it winds up being an active pose still. And one last breath here. Take an inhale and exhale. Great. And from there you can come back to the center. Bend your knees a little bit. Drive your feet through the floor. Hands can come to hips. And as you inhale, you're going to come all the way back up. Drive your feet down to lift your lungs. And exhale from there. Relax your shoulders down. Come out of that long enough to get a block again and block in right hand. All right, so we're now going to work our way in from triangle into half moon pose. So please turn your right toes out to the right. Now bend your front knee. And what's interesting about triangle is because your front leg is relatively straight, it's harder to find that outer leg engagement. So what I recommend is bend your knee a little bit, lengthen your inner thigh, feel the engagement of your right outer hip, and then keep that engagement as you re-straighten your leg, and then take your hand down to the block. Okay, so it's almost like you have to bend the knee to put the keys into the ignition and start it, and then from there, it's on its own. Okay, great, roll your navel up toward the ceiling, and reach your top arm up toward the ceiling. All right, now both feet press down. In triangle, your back foot is pressing straight down into the floor, which means in triangle, we are using our back inner leg. So notice that you're using that like the center column, the inner leg on your back foot. And you're using the outer leg on your front foot. All right, and then from here, you're going to bend your front knee. You're going to transfer the weight into the front foot. The whole pose can move forward a little bit. I'm going to move my block forward as well. And then from here, now we're going to get up into half moon pose. So your front leg is still lengthening through inside, engaging through the outside. Back leg now, because it's up in the air, press the heel out. And you're going to turn the toes down just a little bit and then lift from your heel. So now it's in half moon pose. Both outer columns are sort of moving in toward one another to provide some sacral support. You roll your belly up toward the ceiling. Front foot drives through the floor. Back heel lifts up in the air. Take a deep breath in. Okay, great. And then as gracefully as you can, come out of that. You bend your standing leg. Back foot meets the floor. And you can take your block with you up to standing. All right, turn both toes in for a moment. Wide-legged mountain pose. Press both feet through the floor to lift up through your lungs. Yeah, deep breath in. Big exhale. All right, and then turn your left toes out to the left. Back heel slides back a little bit. And from here, before we get in the triangle, again, bend your left knee so it's like you were in warrior two. Okay? And you're going to lengthen through inseam of your left leg. That outer leg squeezes. Toward hip. And that keeps your outer leg engaged. We've now put the keys into the ignition. The engine started, and then you can straighten your front leg somewhat or all the way and take your hand to the block. Okay? So front leg is the outer leg has to work. There's a very conscientious effort on that. Back foot, press it down. Imagine you were standing on ice and didn't want to slip. So you press your back foot straight down through the floor. That's your inseam of your leg in the back. You can roll your navel up, you can lift your arm up, all that's fine and good in upper body. But here you really focus on the leg work and developing more stability in your triangle. Another couple breaths here. Okay, and then come in the half moon pose. You're going to bend your front knee. You move the entirety of the pose forward. I'm going to move the block forward as well. Now, most of the weight's in my front foot, and I can lift my back leg. Now, the lift of the back leg now means that both outer legs are working a lot. And if both outer legs are working, there's a lot of sacral stability here. So you're driving the foot through the floor. Back heel lifts higher than your toes. So your back toes point down a little. So if you lead with your heel, you're going to feel your outer legs working quite a bit. Okay? Top hand can do whatever you want to do. But roll your belly up and feel the engagement of those outer columns of your legs, outer columns of your hips. And 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, and then as gracefully as you can, you bend your standing leg, back foot comes down. You can leave the block where it is, come all the way up, and step your feet together into Tadasana. All right, great. So drive your feet through the floor, lift your lungs. So we have one more single-legged posture, and that's tree pose. Oftentimes that's the first one people do. I like doing it at the end because then we've already activated the range of motion here in our outer hips. And you can really feel that security in your outer hips in Vrikshasana, in a tree pose. So from here, you're going to shift your weight into your right foot and drive your right foot down. Lift your left knee, and just like that hacky sack move that we did at the beginning, you're going to take your knee out. This time you can place your foot onto your inner leg and have it so that this hip is really engaged. So it's almost like your left hip presses forward a little, so your hips are not in some like nebulous diagonal space. They're straight forward, and you take your knee out to the side wherever it goes. But as long as you're engaging your left hip, you're providing stability to your sacrum. And you drive your standing foot through the floor, lift your lungs. My hands are on my hips. You can also take arms out to sides. You can take namaste hands. You can reach your arms up overhead if you'd like. But don't get too caught up in the arm variations. Really work on the leg strength, the leg stability. These are the 3 columns that we've been working on. And the engagement in the legs help the lift of the 3 columns through our torso. So 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time, breath in. Okay, great. And then knee forward and mountain pose. Great. And then from here, please transfer the weight into your left foot. And you can start by driving your left foot down, drive it into the floor so that all the weight's on the left. You can then bend your knee, and like the hacky sack move, the knee goes out to the side, foot comes into inner thigh somewhere, or inner leg. And from here, hands onto hips. So the more you can work your right hip, right outer leg, so you're sending the inner thigh out, right hip is squeezing back, just like in Warrior 2, in our side angle. All right, and the more work you can get in your legs, the more the 3 columns can work in our legs, the more lift we can get in center, front side of the spine, and lateral lines. So you're lifting, lifting, lifting. Again, any arm position that feels most intuitive for you, that allows you to work on the strength. The sthira is the Sanskrit name, stability of the legs. And there's 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, great. And then your knee can swivel in, plant the feet onto the floor, and let's step back into downward facing dog, please. Hands down, step your feet back. Lift your inner thighs up toward the ceiling. All right, very good. And let's see if we can find that lordotic curvature in your low back. Inward curve in your low back. Lift your sitting bones and your upper thighs as far back as you can. Lengthen your 3 columns in the torso, and then keep that nice and long as you press your heels back. And there's 3 more breaths here. Take an inhale, exhale, breath in, exhale, and one last. Okay, great. And then exhale, you bend your knees and you can come around to seated. All right, with legs extended forward. Tendency here, if things start to relax too much, is for like a little bit of slumpasana. So the center column, inseam of our legs, you can almost like squeeze your legs toward one another, and as your psoas engages, you're going to draw the top of your hips forward, and that helps produce an inward curve in your low back. So when I say sitting bones back, it's also the top of the hips are rolling forward. And that engagement should feel like it helps lift your lungs. Okay. So from here, right leg stays straight, left foot into inner thigh, that hacky sack move. You can do that here. It's just you can do it hands free if that's available. So you lengthen, a little bit of a twist, and then you're going to fold down your right leg, and you breathe into your left low back. Okay, so from here, see if you can push. So my left foot's in my right inner leg. Press the foot into your leg. Also press the leg into your foot. So there's more engagement in our legs that transfers into more hip stability. So legs are engaged. And then however far forward you want to fold, you can do that. Great, and then from here, you make your way back up. Extend your left leg forward. Please draw, and if you can do this, hands free, because we've been doing this range of motion activation. You can take your right knee out to the side, draw your heel in. And you can press the 2 into one another, lengthen up, arch your back, a little bit of a twist to left, and you fold down your left leg. Foot's pressing into thigh, thighs pressing into foot. Also, this knee is going down. So it's inner, outer leg work. And that is wonderful support for sacrum and for low back. And then whatever forward fold you'd like to add through your spine, that's fine. But there's engagement through legs, stability in legs. Breathe into your right low back another few times. Okay, great. And then from there, you arrive back up, both legs forward. Okay. All right, and so option number 1 for these next 2 practices is going to be in Dandasana. Option number 2 is boat, Navasana. That means we're going to lift our legs and we're just on our sitting bones. But you can do both of these options in either pose. The first option, you're going to have the block in between thighs. Okay? And option number 1, and we can all start here, is you squeeze your thighs. So this is emphasizing the center column, inseam of legs through front side of spine. Option number 1 here, you arch your back, lift your lungs. Option number 2, if you'd like, you stay lifted. Front side of the spine stays nice and long. You're going to arch your back just a little bit and then bend your knees, squeeze the block, and if you're able to, you can lift your feet up off the floor if you're able to, press your heels up, but still arch your back, arch your back, arch your back. Draw the top of your sacrum in and lift your lungs up. And there's 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time. Okay, great. And you can lower your legs down. If they're up, block out of the way. Okay, and so that was a lift through the inseam of our legs. We're now going to take a loop in your strap. And if your strap does not have a loop, you can always sort of like just like tie a knot in there and have a loop that way. But my strap has a loop in it. It's not a terribly big loop. We're going to place it around our feet and particularly around our heels. So, and this is work that we were doing in half moon pose. The tendency is for the toes to turn out. What I'd like to do is turn the toes inward, and then from here we're breaking into the strap with our heels, and that's going to get our outer legs working. Okay, you can probably, I can even feel my IT band tense up as my TFL engages strongly. So maybe you'll be able to feel that in your outer legs. Okay, so hopefully everyone's here. You press your heels out and you stay there, you lift. And this is Dandasana. Option number 2 in boat pose, you can lean back, but you're arching your back, arching your back, arching your back, arching your back, and you're going to break into the strap as you bend your knees. And you're going to break into the strap as you lift your feet up. And the knees can be bent or the legs can be straight. But now we're using our outer hips to engage and secure the sacrum. Lift your lift the inner body up toward the ceiling. Lungs up toward the ceiling. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale. Big exhale. And one last time. Breathe in. Okay, exhale. You can lower down. Get rid of the strap. Okay, so now we've used the props, we squeezed into the block, we broke into the strap. I encourage you to try to find both of those energies in our last boat. And this is the last boat, I promise. Or Dandasana, so we can start there. So you're in Dandasana, and first focus on the energy of squeezing the block and see if you can find that inner leg line work. That's our center column. Now, keep that leg engagement and see if you can also engage your outer legs. So I'm asking you to do 2 different things, and they're actually opposite things. So you're both squeezing your legs in and breaking your legs out. But hopefully that you can get a sense of having both of those happen at the same time. So now there's a lot of stability in inner outer leg lines. Help you lift your 3 columns up. You can either stay here in Dandasana, or you can lean back, lift your feet, straighten your legs, and both crush the block and break into the strap. And the more you can do in your legs, the higher you can sort of lift the 3 columns of your spine. So 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, great. And you can lower down from there, release. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for sticking with the boats. That's the last big, strong practice, save for headstand. But I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Right knee bends, and this is pigeon. So right leg forward first, and you're going to slide your left leg back a bit. Now, if your back leg cannot extend fully, don't worry about it. Just go to where you can go. Okay? And we're going to take a little bit of a back bend for a psoas stretch. So this is high pigeon first. So our hands are on the floor. You can bring a little bit of a back bend into your spine, and that gets that psoas stretch on the left. If you're able to, you'll get more stretch by internally rotating your back leg and rotating this left hip forward, right hip back. Okay? But we're up in high pigeon for a moment. Breathe into the front side of your left hip. Okay, and that's the high pigeon. And then from here, you're going to lengthen your lungs forward. So it's like you're squeezing your legs. Engage your legs a little bit to lengthen your 3 columns as far forward as you can over your front leg. And as far down as you go, as long as it's okay for knee, hip, and low back, you're right. Another couple breaths here. Okay, great. And then you can lean onto your right side, swing your back leg around. So now it's left foot crosses over to the right side, right leg back. And every pigeon is different because there's so many variables here. But if you cannot take your leg back fully, that's fine. You take your leg back as far as you can and try to get a stretch through the through your right quad, right psoas, and we're up in our high pigeon like this. So if your leg doesn't go all the way back, you might not be straight up, you might be out to the side. I don't care. I'm really just looking for the stretch here, the length here. And you can breathe into your right hip. If you do have more flexibility, you can internally rotate that leg and slide your right hip forward, left hip back. So the hips, generally, as you get more flexible, the hips turn more and more counterclockwise. And we're up, we're breathing into abdomen. After all the work we did in the psoas, this is a good release for the psoas. And a couple more breaths here. Okay, great. So from here you can squeeze the muscles around your thighs, muscles around the hips. Squeeze the three columns to help lengthen your side waist, lengthen your center line forward over your front leg. And if your hands get down to the floor, that's fine. If your forearms can get down, that's fine. If you can lean all the way forward, that's fine. But sort of like you're squeezing your legs almost like a tube of toothpaste to kind of squeeze from the legs to lengthen your three columns forward. And as long as this feels okay for all joints, breathe here a few times. Okay, very good. So from here you can come back up and around, bring your back leg around until we're in a seated pose, Baddha Konasana. Please take your feet together and draw them inward. Okay. And your knees are going to press gently toward the floor. You lift your lungs up. Okay, so this is Baddha Konasana. You engage your outer hips to lengthen inner legs, lengthen your inseam. And as you engage your outer hips, my hope is that like the outer leg engagement helps lift that center column up. Okay? And so we're not going to round on this one. We're going to lengthen because this is preparation for a headstand. Baddha Konasana, legs and headstand. Okay? So this is Baddha Konasana. Supta Baddha Konasana. Supta means supine. So the legs are doing a similar thing, but now we're on the back. Okay? And now that we're on the back, your heels are drawing in as actively, as close as you can, and you're going to press your knees toward the floor. Okay? So this is fairly active legs. Now option number one is to just do this here on the back and work on drawing heels in and pressing your knees toward the floor. Option number two is going to be to do this in headstand. Okay? So if headstand is not in your practice, just stay working on the back and work on that detail, the detail activity of trying to draw your heels in toward sitting bones and taking your knees out to the side. That hopefully helps you lengthen on your back. If you're in headstand, from here, you're going to take your feet together, knees out, and you press your knees out, draw your heels toward your sitting bones, and hopefully feels like you also lift your hips up toward the sky, so your three columns are very long in your torso. Center column nice and long, and your side columns are nice and long. Okay, so that's the demonstration. I'll give you a minute to practice one or the other. And this is, if you need, you can do this variation against the wall. I demonstrated in the middle of the room, but you don't need to do that. So if you're going to use some wall space, set up against the wall. If you're newer to headstand, maybe just take the straight-legged variation. Work on the length of the three columns, center column and side columns. If you're going to try the Baddha Konasana variation in headstand, feet come together, knees press in opposite directions, and your outer thighs are engaged, so your inner thighs lengthen. And you draw your heels in toward hips. Also in headstands, like you're trying to lift your hips up toward the heels, and that lengthens your three columns in the spine. Another 20 seconds. If you're on the back, keep on doing what you're doing. Draw your heel in, feel the hamstrings work, press your knees toward the floor, feel your outer legs work, and notice the length along front of spine, length along side waists. There's another few breaths here. Great. And from there, you can make your way down, come out of that. If you did headstand, take child's pose for a breath or two. Here, I'll demonstrate child's pose. You turn your head to one side, and then turn your head to the other side. All right, great. And then let's all come to, now we're back together. Let's lie on the back and have your block at the ready. The block at any height, we're going to lift up into bridge and set your sacrum and your hips on the block. And we'll be here for about 2 minutes. We're going to do a couple leg variations for one last lengthening of the psoas. But all the variations you can ignore if this feels like a good stretch and a good way to calm down from this routine, to settle down. You can stay here and do none of the variations. If you'd like, start by pressing your left heel forward, and you can draw your right knee in toward chest. Right knee in, press your left heel forward, that lengthens through the psoas. Breathe into your front left hip a few times here. All right, great. And then you can place your right foot on the floor, left foot on the floor, and let's switch sides. So please extend your right heel forward along the ground. Hug your left knee into chest. As you press your right heel forward, you'll notice the lengthen your right quad or your psoas or your abdomen. Breathe into your right front hip. Okay, great. And then from there, you can release both feet to the ground. And for the last 30 seconds, either stay here, or if you'd like to, extend both legs forward. Press your both heels forward, and breathe into lower abdomen. Okay, great. And then feet onto the floor. Engage your glutes to support your sacrum as you lift your hips. Block out of the way. Lower your hips down, and you can drop your knees to one side, to the other side. You can go back and forth like this another time. And you come back to center, extend your legs forward, and relax in Shavasana. So final relaxation. All right. Okay, so we did a ton of work today. We did a lot of strength building for arms, side planks, I'm thinking specifically. We did a lot of work in our arms. Allow your hands to soften. Feel the bones of your wrist relax away from one another. Each wrist relaxes wide. And allow that softness in your hands, like a wave, like a ripple in a pond, to just ripple up your arms and into your shoulders, into your heart center. So arms are relaxed, shoulder girdles are soft. And from here, mind's eye to your feet. We did a lot of inner outer footwork. I'm thinking particularly the single-legged postures, tree and half moon. Allow the bones of your feet to soften, inner outer ankle, relax wide and soft. And then allow the center column, the inseams of your legs, to release and relax. So soften your legs from inner ankle to inner knee, and inner knee to sitting bone. And then relax your outer legs, first from outer ankle to outer knee, and then from outer knee to greater trochanter to the top of your iliac crest, top of your hip bone. And then allow those two relaxations to ripple upward like ripples in a pond through the front side of your spine, so the side of your spine that faces your organs. Relaxes long, relaxes wide. Your center column softens. And then from your outer legs, allow that softness to ripple up through your torso, along your side waists, your side ribs, all the way up through the center neck and side of your neck, and your inside skull and outside skull. We did a lot of work today, and this is a very dynamic practice. We were physically all over the place. For the next minute, relax in this one place. Very good. So from here, take some slightly deeper inhales, deeper exhales. Breathe a breath throughout your torso. And guide a breath through your hips, down your legs, into your feet. Guide a breath through your shoulders, down your arms, into your palms. And then guide a breath into your brain, dust off your brain. And exhale down your face. All right, great. And then from here, please hug both knees into chest. Give your knees a good hug and take a breath in. And exhale, you roll over onto one side. Notice how it feels to start moving again after a brief period of stillness. And then from here, make your way up to seated. Find a comfortable seat. And even with your legs softening down, legs into contact points on the floor, hips into your contact points, sitting bones relax down. Notice the three columns that we've worked with today. The center column lifts up, and the side columns come up right beside and support our center column. All right. Very good. So thank you so much for practicing with me. This was, I think the arm balances are very fun. They are difficult. So hopefully if you practice this again, you know, if you can't do everything, don't worry. Have fun with arm balances for sure. Enjoy. And thank you so much for practicing. Take care. Namaste.